KTRS.com.
With Paul Harris filling in for McGraw this morning. You can follow me on Twitter at Paul Harris Show. And you can also check the live video feed from our studio this morning. KTRS TV available on KTRS.com. That winter storm warning will go into effect at 9 o'clock this morning and stay into effect until midnight tonight. The snow and sleet that's coming later probably going to accumulate 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 inches in some areas. The further north you are, the better off you're going to be. Maybe a tenth of an inch of ice forming late this afternoon and this evening, and freezing rain and sleet mixed in there as well for the afternoon drive home. This morning, the roads are all completely dry, but we are looking at that Doppler radar and keeping our eye on it. We'll let you know as the storm gets closer to us. We'll probably be up around freezing today, down below freezing tonight, and then seesaw back and forth for the next couple of days. We'll be above freezing tomorrow, but anything that melts may refreeze tomorrow night. Just something to keep in mind. 24 degrees now here at the Big 550 KTRS. Time for our weekly chat with ABC News crime and terrorism consultant Brad Garrett. Good morning, Brad.
Good morning, Paul.
One of the stories on our desktop this morning is the White House trying to do something about the mounting problem of cyber attacks, most of these being launched from China, right?
Well, this most recent report clearly focuses on China, state-sponsored, basically cyber espionage going on for years, and it's quite extensive. It covers U.S. government agencies, corporations that are involved in the making of sensitive products or technology, also into the infrastructure of the U.S., in other words, the power grid, power plants, water plants, etc. They were able to get inside a number of these systems, and the amount of information they've stolen, I don't think we really know, but it's quite extensive.
What can we really do if this is China that's at the heart of this, if it's their military or their government that is actually behind all of these attacks, considering that they are currently our landlord? How much can we do to stop China from doing this, Brad?
Well, that's the real issue. I mean, you're talking about over $1 trillion in debt that they are covering for us. And so, will we call them on it? I think we have privately. And of course, they're denying it publicly. They have anything to do with it. But the evidence in this most recent study are overwhelming. And then, to be quite frank, they were overwhelming before. And so, I don't know. But if you think about their ability to get inside some of our very sensitive computer systems and be able to potentially control, to turn off, turn on a power plant. They even hacked into a company that develops or had developed the ability to remotely control the valves in gas and oil. And so what if you could hack into that? Could you just shut off all the gas and oil or a large component of it? I mean, these are big-time critical issues. And it also, Paul, it really lays the groundwork as to what somebody can potentially do without ever physically stepping into your country.
Now, I understand that there is the threat against the infrastructure. And, we talk about China perhaps doing that. Isn't the real threat against the infrastructure from other people, not the Chinese government, which, if they were to do it, we're talking about an act of war, but groups like Anonymous or other ne'er-do-wells who want to wreak havoc?
Yes, but I don't think they have the ability, because China has the money and the manpower and the skill set to do some of these very sophisticated intrusions. Not does, but the ability to do some prolonged big intrusion that could significantly affect the United States probably is going to be a state-sponsored. Now, that doesn't mean that a state couldn't farm out this type of intrusion to an organized group like Anonymous. That is entirely possible. But yes, it's actually both. But the biggest concern, I think, from a macro standpoint, would be state-sponsored.
All right. Then the next question has to be, is there intention, we don't actually know their intention, so I'm asking your speculation here. Do you think that their intention is to disrupt our infrastructure, et cetera, or is it really to get into companies like General Motors and DuPont and Lockheed Martin and Google and the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, which have both reported recently being hacked, that they want to get in here for intellectual property reasons, to get hold of patents and ideas and steal them and use them as they do so often in China?
Yeah, I think that is the primary goal. But I do think that they want to at least have the capability of some of these other intrusions. But yes, it's all about money. It's all about getting ahead of us. It's all about stealing our technology. I mean, they have hacked into corporations like Coca-Cola to see if they could figure out what Coca-Cola's position would be, because a couple of years ago, Coca-Cola was going to buy like the largest beverage company in China.
Yep.
And they wanted to know what the business deal was going. What was in Coca-Cola's mind, and so they hacked into their system, I think, looking for it. That kind of thing.
All right. The other thing I've got to ask you about this morning on our crime front is this Oscar Pistorius case, which seemingly was pretty easy at the beginning. He's home. He thinks he hears an intruder, or he claims that he thought he heard an intruder, and shoots through a bathroom door and kills his girlfriend. But now there's all sorts of intrigue here because there's a cop in the Oscar Pistorius case who may be this case's Mark Furman. Do you know this part of the story?
Yeah. Apparently, the considered attempted murder for whatever. We have the details. And then they decided not to. But then a couple of days ago, I guess they decided they were going to. And so that case got reactivated. That's one side of this. The other is trying to marry up what the police are saying. And I will tell you, because I've done this so many times, the police are just going into way too much speculation as to what happened or didn't happen inside that house. They could have been very conservative on their approach and just leave it to the judge of, look, there is probable cause. You know, you can decide whether there's a flight risk, etc., but there is probable cause of these charges. Where now it's sort of turned into this soupy mess that sometimes happens during a regular trial. And so sorting out the facts, I will tell you, I have issues with Oscar's version of the story. I have issues with his statement, his written statement and his affidavit as to words that he uses, how he describes things. He's very devoid of emotion when he talks about her. He didn't call the police or an ambulance initially. He calls basically the landlord for the gated community he lives in. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but there are just a number of things unanswered as to what Oscar's true motives were that, I guess, Valentine's Eve night.
He also said that he was not wearing his blades at the time, but the police say that the angle of the shot came from an angle at which he would have had to have been standing on his blades in order for the shot to go at a downward angle into the door.
Right, and that combined with, they believe he was able to shoot right at the toilet where she was presumably sitting, to hit her because, the shots are pretty good for not being able to see the person you're shooting.
Yeah. This cop Bota intrigues me, though, because I'm reading a report about him this morning from Reuters that says, under cross-examination during Pistorius' bail hearing, Bota, the cop we're talking about, was accused of contaminating the crime scene by walking through there without protective shoe covers on. He also conceded that the cops left a 9mm slug from the shots that killed the girlfriend inside the toilet at the scene, and that they lost track of some illegal ammunition that was found inside the house, and on and on and on and on. This may be one of those cases where he did kill her, Pistorius did kill her, but the cops were so inept that it gets thrown out on technicalities.
Well, that could well be. They've now, the defense has done a great job of so muddying the water that if, in fact, they get to a trial, it's going to be, I think, a real challenge for them.
I do, too. All right, Brad, thanks for your time this morning, as always.
Take care, Paul.
Brad Garrett, our ABC News crime and terrorism consultant here on McGraw in the Morning with Paul Harris on the Big 550 KTRS.
The Tigers are